Well, everybody, good morning. Thank you for being here. I'm grateful for all of you here. I'm humbled to be here and grateful. And I think that more and more, Josh, it's interesting. About a year ago, and many of you, most of you probably don't know this. Some of you may have heard this if you're listening to my podcast or anything, but about a year and a half ago, I guess it was, I was on chemotherapy for my third year in a row. And I'm a very holistic person. So I was doing every holistic practice, but being on chemo just was not, I wanted off. And, but everybody in my life, from the doctor to my wife, to my dad, to my friend, they're like, the only thing that's saving your life, maybe this chemo, so better stay on it. And everything in my my intuition said, get off. And I ended up getting, my brain stopped working normally. I kind of got into a deep depression and got anxiety and experienced really mental and emotional challenges, mental health issues, if you will, that I had never experienced before. And interestingly enough, nothing was wrong in my life. Like, it wasn't circumstantial depression. It wasn't like, oh, I lost all my money, so now I'm like depressed. It was like, my life's amazing and I want to die. I literally wanted to die every day. I became suicidal. And I was at the lowest of the lows that I've ever been. And I asked myself, every day it was like, what do I do to get out of this? How do I get out of this? And I kept trying different things. And then I thought, when have I ever been depressed before? And it was 2008 when the US economy crashed, and I created this thing called the Miracle Morning to get out of my depression. And I went, well, wait a minute. That got me out of my depression so fast. It felt like a miracle, and I called it my Miracle Morning. I'm still doing the Miracle Morning. Why am I experiencing depression and anxiety? Beyond the fact that I'm poisoning my brain with this chemotherapy. And I examined my Miracle Morning last year, 2020, compared to how it been in 2008. And I happen to have all of my old journals and my old affirmations. I have them all in this 3-ring binder. And I pulled out my original Miracle Morning binder from when I first started doing it in 2008. And I compared the two. And here's, it's this is a long answer, but it's really simple in that what had changed is I had gotten away from the basics. And I think this is true for most things in life. I look back in my sales career, I was in direct sales, and I was in a sales slump at one point that kept lasting week after week after week. And I went to my manager and I said, I don't know what to do. I'm ready to quit. Like I'm working my ass off every day, making calls, and I am struggling. And he said, are you following the script that you learned on day one? And I go, no, of course not, dude. I've been doing this for like 5 years. I've got my scripts like on point, like I don't use the original. Come on. That's like stuff, And he said, I guarantee you've gotten too far away from the basics and you don't even know what you're doing, that what you're leaving something out, you're adding something in. He said, if I were you, I would literally go to the closet in the office, pull out a printed 22-page training manual, and on your next appointment, tell the customer that you're new and you're going to read the manual. I'm like, man, I don't think this is the answer, but okay. So, dude, I'm one of the top salespeople in the company. I've broken all these records. I pull out the manual. I go to Miss Jones, I'm kind of new, so I'm going to read this to make sure I don't mess up. She's like, oh, that's fine, young man. Sure. I was like 25. And so I read it word for word, and I have the biggest sale I've ever had. And on the next appointment, I read it word for word, and I had the biggest sale I've ever had. And here's the point, the lesson. So a year ago, I went back to my original Miracle Morning. I started reading my original affirmations. I started doing everything. I actually pulled out the Miracle Morning book, not joking. I started reading my own book from page 1 to get back in the essence of the fundamentals that got me to the dance, if you will. And then within a matter of weeks, depression went away and everything changed. So again, Josh, it's a long answer to the answer that too much changed. And it was revisiting my own book, oddly enough, and getting back to the basics and the fundamentals that changed everything. And I think it's true for, athletes, right? It's like, no, get back to the form that you learned, from your high school coach that got your jump shot on point or your free throw on point. So I think for all of us, right, don't reinvent the wheel. Don't drift too far from the fundamentals, because those are what work, and they always have and they always will.
Dude, that's incredible. I love how when I asked that question, I had no idea what was coming and that it was going to be that amazing. So nice. So hey man, I mean, you touched on that. Our world right now is kind of in unprecedented times. Many people are experiencing unprecedented challenges. What do you believe is most important for all of us to focus on right now?
Yeah, I think that's arguably that's the most important question that you could ask me or any of us could ask ourselves. And it's the question I've asked myself ever since the, quote unquote pandemic hit in March 2020. Is, I consider myself, I'm a leader. I've got this big Miracle Morning global community, and I'm always asking, like, how can I step up for my family, for myself first? What do I need to focus on for me? What do I need to focus on for my family? And then, and then going out into larger communities and ultimately the world and humanity. And I'm gonna answer that first by saying what not to focus on. And what most of us focus on, especially in the last year, because so much more of this has been poured into our consciousness than ever before, we focus on things that are totally out of our control. Think about that. How much time do we focus on the economy? And November, how much of us were thinking about the election, right? It was like consuming us, how much of us thinking about, vaccines now and masks and like just all, and the virus and all. We focus so much of our energy and attention on things that are completely out of our control. And as simple as this may sound, it's such a profound reality check that when we focus on things that are out of our control, we feel out of control. And when we feel out of control, we develop anxiety and we feel stressed and we get depressed and we lose our ability to focus on what really matters, which is the only thing we should focus on is what's within our control, which ultimately is ourselves. So I would argue that roughly 99% of our energy, at least 95%, but 95 to 99% of our energy should be focused on that which is in our control. And only 1 to 5% should be focused on that which is out of our control. And the only reason is you want to be aware of what's going on so that you can go back inside and focus on being the person that you need to be to handle the challenges that we are facing collectively. But ultimately, this for me allows me to sleep at night. It used to be when the pandemic hit and I was going through depression, I didn't know what was what. At night, I'd be thinking of a million things. And before the pandemic, I was thinking of a million things of, oh my God, I got to do this in my business and I got this problem I got to solve, right? Which, guess what? If you're laying in bed to go to sleep, nothing is in your control other than whether or not you fall asleep. Think about that. So to give any energy or attention to anything else other than how can I feel completely calm and at peace so that I can get the most restful, regenerative sleep I've ever had tonight, anything other than that is a waste and a misuse of your energy and your attention. And so you bring that into any moment of your life, right? That sleep example is a microcosm for all of our energy should be on what we can control. And that's what's beautiful about the Miracle Morning is the Miracle Morning, if you're doing it right, which means if you're doing it to grow and improve and evolve yourself, then that's what your energy is focused on. And if every day you start by focusing all of your energy and attention on you and becoming the best version of yourself, focusing on asking questions like, what do I need to think about, focus on to feel happy and at peace and driven and motivated? What are the things that I'm going to do today that are in my control that will move my life in the direction that I want it to go? That's where all of our energy should be. So Josh, the answer to the question is the most important thing for us to focus on right now is only things within our control. And at the end of the day, that's really just ourselves. There's not much more. You can't control your spouse. You can't control the weather. You can't control, right? Like you can't control what clients say or don't say or whether or not they take the deal or it falls through. You can't. That's all out of our control. So when those things happen, you go, all right, can't change it. Write that down. Can't change it. That to me is the bridge. That's how I alchemize the things that are out of my control and make peace with them. Because if I can't change it, there's no point in focusing on energy in it. Now, if you can change it, awesome. But if you can't change it in this moment, and it's going to take you a few days or a few weeks, then accept it exactly as it is now, while you're intentional and proactive to do things to make those changes moving forward. But don't make those changes in a state of fear and stress and scarcity. Make all of your changes from a state of peace and wholeness and love and joy and optimism.
Dude, I'm so glad you said that, because I was gonna segue you right into the can't change it, but
Nice.
you kind of covered it. I mean, maybe you could expand a little bit. You had like a 5-minute rule or a 5-second.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was.
Yeah. So thank you, Josh. I learned when I was so for those who don't know, when I was 19 years old, I started selling Cutco cutlery. That was the sales job I mentioned earlier, right? That I had in direct sales when I went in my sales slump and all that. And I realized I need to focus on the basics. So at 19, I started selling Cutco. A year and a half into my sales career, so I was 20 years old, I gave a speech at a Cutco event. You got a standing ovation. I was like on top of the world, like, oh my gosh, it's my first standing ovation. Like, this is amazing. And then I got into my my new car I just bought a few weeks earlier. It was a brand new white Ford Mustang. And driving home that night, I was hit head on by a drunk driver at 70 miles an hour. My car spun off the drunk driver, and the car that was tailing behind me in the same lane hit me in the driver's side door at 70 miles an hour. And instantaneously, the left side of the car smashed in the left side of my body, and I broke 11 bones on the left side of my body. My eye socket was shattered. This is all made of titanium now. My ear was almost completely severed. The top of my skull was fractured because the ceiling buckled. I broke my humerus bone behind the bicep in half, shattered my elbow, severed the radial nerve in my left arm. My femur and the biggest bone in the human body, it broke in half. My pelvis was crushed between the center console. It broke 3 separate places. And I started losing blood. And that night I bled to death. I died clinically. I was dead for 6 minutes when they pulled me out of the car. I was rushed to the hospital. I spent 6 days in a coma, underwent emergency surgery. And when I came out of the coma, the doctor said I would never walk again, and I had permanent brain damage. And that's obviously hard news to hear at any age. You know, at 20, I'm going, oh my God, what the hell? What's my future hold for me, right? I'm gonna be in a wheelchair the rest of my life. And then I remembered something I learned in my Cutco sales training called the 5-minute rule. And the 5-minute rule, which this is one of the most important, and I would write that down, 5-minute rule, which simply states it's okay to be negative. When something goes wrong, it's okay to be negative, but not more than 5 minutes. There's no value in dwelling on something that once again, that's out of your control. And guess what? If it's in the past, it's out of our control. Whether it's 5 minutes or 5 months or 5 decades in the past, it's out of our control. But think about how often we focus our energy and our attention and our emotions on something in the past. I mean, anytime you're upset, we're almost always upset over something that just happened. Sometimes it's something we're worried about, but often it's, it just happened. Or I hit traffic. It's happening now. I just lost a deal. This person just said this to me, and what a bitch. I can't believe they said that, right? Like, we're always upset over something in the past that we can't change. And so in Cutco, I learned that when something goes wrong, and wrong is a relative term, but when something causes you to be upset, literally we were taught to set our timer for 5 minutes, and you give yourself 5 minutes to feel all your feelings, to be angry, be upset, be sad, be frustrated, whatever, feel it. Bitch, moan, complain, cry, punch something, like vent it, right? Like feel it. Don't bottle it up. But then when the timer went off after 5 minutes, we were taught to say 3 very powerful words. Can't change it. And it was an acknowledgement as an intelligent human being, realizing I can't go back in time and change it. there's no value in dwelling on it. There's no value in feeling sorry for myself. There's no value in perpetuating destructive, negative, painful emotions that cloud my judgment and cloud my thinking. There's no value in that. So can't change it is the bridge that releases the tension. And I would just take a deep breath and go, something would happen. I'd go, son of a bitch. I can't believe that happened, right? I got 5 minutes to just fucking feel it, right? Doesn't matter. I'm frustrated. I'm angry, whatever. When the timer goes off after 5 minutes, I would go, deep breath. I can't change it. It's in the past now. It happened. Can't change it. The only intelligent choice is to focus all my energy on what's in my control now. What can I control now? Where do I want to go in the future? And what are the things that I can do to move in that direction? Period. I've got to let go of the thing I can't change. And an important distinction is that when you realize you can't change it, so there's no point in focusing on wishing you could, it doesn't mean you're happy about it. But see, happiness is an emotion, and emotions are fleeting, right? Over here, you got happiness and joy and excitement, and all these positive emotions. And then over here, you got anger and fear and sadness and all these painful emotions. And when you utter those three words, can't change it, it allows you to acknowledge that the only choice you have is to accept reality as it is. And in between the positive emotions and the painful emotions is a state of being that is peace. And it's emotionally neutral. When you accept what you can't change, and this takes practice. I'd commit to do the 5-minute rule for the next 30 days, and you'll never look back, and you'll never find yourself feeling emotionally out of control again. Those three words are the key that unlocks the door to what I would call emotional invincibility, where you have the ability through the acceptance of the things you can't change and the acknowledgement and the commitment to focus on only what you can change. You're at peace with what you can't change, and then you're able to decide, what do I want to think? What do I want to feel in order to be at my best to move in the direction that I'm committed to moving? So, Josh, I hope that's helpful, man. That's that 5-minute rule and those three words that can change everything.
It's good stuff, man. I'm going to go to some of the Q&A in the chat.
Yeah.
Anthony asks, who are some of your mentors and coaches? And because I know I have a good idea of at least one that you're going to say, you could use that as even a segue into how you kind of first created your Miracle Morning.
Yeah.
But the main question was, who are your mentors and coaches?
Yeah, here's what I would say. Most of my mentors I've never met before and I've never spoken to. They mentor me in the form of the books that they've written, in the form of the audios or the podcasts or whatever that they've recorded, or the videos on YouTube that I've watched. And I think the beautiful thing about that is to realize that you have access to almost anyone as your mentor. And if you think about it as well, let's say you got to pick your favorite author, right? Your favorite book, your favorite author. If you got to sit down with them for an hour, the odds are you wouldn't get nearly as much value from them as you would reading their most recent book or their best book, right? Because you think about it, I mean, like me right now, I'm talking, it's like, this hasn't been edited. This hasn't been revised in order to make sure that the most concise language is used, every sentence, every paragraph, to ensure that you're getting the most value and guided on a journey, right? I got ADHD as much as anybody. So, you're lucky if you can even hear, pay attention to what I'm saying. But the point is, so those are most of my mentors are in the form of books. I think the one you were going to mention, Josh, is Jim Rohn. Did I get that right? It was a single Jim Rohn quote that sparked the idea for the Miracle Morning. And if it wasn't for this quote from Jim Rohn, I don't know that we'd be here right now, or that all these books would be behind me, Jim Rohn said, your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development, because success is something you attract by the person that you become. I'll say that one more time. Your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development, because success is something you attract by the person that you become. And when I heard that, I realized, wait a minute, I'm not dedicating time to my personal development. Therefore, I'm not becoming the person that I need to be to create and sustain the success I want in my life. And I think that's true for most people. On a scale of 1 to 10, we all want level 10 success in every area of our life, our health, our relationships, our happiness, you name it. But if our level of personal development doesn't match it, if our level of personal development is at 2 or 3, and we want level 10 success, there's always going to be a disconnect. The secret is you have to develop yourself into a level 10 person to create and sustain that level 10 success. And so that was the epiphany I had. And I went, I'm going to go create the most effective, extraordinary personal development ritual in the history of humanity. Like, that was my intention. And I just went and Googled what are the best practices of personal development. And I came up with meditation or silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and journaling, or what I call scribing, right? And those are the 6 practices that I went, well, which one's the best? Which one of these is the most effective? And none of them, it just depends on who you ask. You could find a world champion athlete that says visualization was their key to success. Number 1. You could find Jim Rohn, who would tell you that journaling, putting his thoughts on paper and gaining that clarity from the wisdom of infinite intelligence or God or himself, that's where his most brilliant ideas came from, right? You could find a lot of executives that would tell you that their morning workout is getting that oxygen and blood to their brain is what puts them in a peak physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual state that allows them to crush the day. So I went, well, which one of these is the best? What should I do? And the epiphany was when I went, wait a minute, what if I did all of these? What if I did the 6 most timeless practices, right? And then that became the miracle morning. I woke up the next day, I did 10 minutes of silence or meditation and prayer, 10 minutes of affirmations, 10 minutes of visualization, exercise, reading, and journaling. And it changed my life so fast, it felt like a miracle. And so in terms of other mentors, I'm going to tell you guys, I'll just tell you my favorite books right now. The best book I've ever read, and it might be recency bias since I just am about to finish it, but I think it literally is the best book I've ever read. It's called Awareness by Anthony DeMello. Anthony, and then ANTHONY DEMELLO, 3 words, Anthony DeMello. For me, it's my focus right now is inner freedom. I'm really focusing on how can I be completely free from any outside sources affecting my inner well-being. Meaning, I want to get to the place where I'm at a good place where no matter what circumstance happens, like car accident, cancer, I've been able to really be at peace with that. But I still react to people. I'm sure most of you could probably relate, right? If one person says one thing to me and I feel great, somebody else says something else and I feel like, right? Like, and I don't want that. I don't want to be at the mercy of anything outside of myself. So that's my focus, is inner freedom. And the best book I had ever read on inner freedom before the awareness book I just recommended, which I would write this one down too, is called The Untethered Soul. The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. Michael Singer also wrote the book The Surrender Experiment. Those are 2 of my favorite books. Therefore, he is one of my favorite mentors. And then most recently, it's Awareness. And I feel like that is the untethered soul, but better in a lot of ways. And so, so I could go on and on. I mean, Tony Robbins, Neil Donald Walsh, who wrote Conversations with God. That's one of my favorites. Byron Katie. If you haven't read the book Loving What Is by Byron Katie, highly recommend that as well. Michael Singer, Byron Katie, and Anthony DeMello, probably my 3 top favorite authors.
Dude, we went from no questions to a shit ton of questions.
All right, I'll answer it faster.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. I'm glad you said Untethered Soul, one of my favorite books of all time. I threw the link in the chat. Let's make that our April book club, guys. Untethered Soul, unless I get overwritten, but it's one of my favorite books of all time. Hal, I forgot that you and I one time connected on like, wait, you read Conversations with God? Wait, you read Conversations with God? Like, I remember having a menial job and just like trying to get out of work as much as I could. And there was a library nearby, and just going, and one day walking by and that book just kind of sticking out, and me being like, what is it? And I still have it on my shelf, man. Great book.
Hey, by the way, Josh, and for anybody listening, Josh, have you read the book, same author as Neil Donald Walsh, The Essential Path?
I don't think so.
I highly recommend that. And for most people, so that's his newest book, or one of his newest, I think it's his newest. It's, you know, any author tends to evolve, right? And so, you know, Conversations with God was written like 15 years ago. The Essential Path is shorter. I feel like it's more relevant to today. So if anybody's starting, that would be, you know, that would be one to add to your reading list. And Josh, since you haven't read that one yet, I would definitely throw it in.
Nice. I will throw that in the chat. I'm going to hit some of these questions. So, and this is a good one too. Speaking of routines, someone asked, Moises asks, have you ever felt prisoner of your routine, and what did you do to not feel that way? And before you answer, I do want to say that one of the funniest memories is after an event, we were all partying in the penthouse suite, and you literally left our entire crew to go to bed at 9:30 p.m. because you didn't want to miss your miracle morning at 3:30 a.m. And we laughed about it. I'm not sure how you went to sleep with all the noise, but I'll let you answer. Have you ever felt prisoner of your own routine?
Yeah, no, but you know, like the people that party would probably from the outside perceive, you know, like, oh, Hal's leaving at 9:30, you know, because he's prisoner to miracle morning. It's like, no, I just love my miracle morning. You know, I did a Clubhouse call this morning, and my miracle morning, it's one of, if not my absolute favorite part of my day, because it's when like that goal of inner freedom, like total true freedom, it's the easiest to attain when I'm doing my miracle morning, right? Because I'm not having to react to anyone else's demands. I'm not having to react to the news. I'm not having to react to any other human being saying anything. So that's like the easiest way to be completely, and when I say inner freedom, think of it this way. I would define inner freedom as your ability, you might write this down too, by the way, so that way it sticks a little bit. Inner freedom is your ability to choose your inner world. And you could say your emotional state, you could say your inner state, your inner world. So I should get a real definition here, but inner freedom is your ability to choose how you feel. No, here you go. Sorry. Okay, I got the definition. Inner freedom is your ability to choose your experience of life in every moment. Inner freedom is your ability to choose your experience of life in any moment. That means that no matter what's happening in your life, you get to go, well, if I could rub a genie, right? Rub a magic lamp and go, well, what would I want my experience of life to be in every moment? I'm guessing that you would want it to be something along the lines of happy and at peace, maybe grateful. Like, I'm not sure what words would come up, but probably in that realm. So that's my goal, is to be, and mine is bliss. Like that's my word, right? To be in a state of infinite bliss, 24/7, 365, all the time, no matter what. And so the miracle morning is like my workout for that. It's my workout for inner freedom, for enlightenment, right? And I'm able to practice. So I'm able to think about something in my life that's stressful and then go, okay, how can I be in a state of bliss even though that's happening? Even though I've lost some income right now, even though my, spouse and I fought last night, whatever, right? Like, even though, how can I choose my experience of life unconditionally in the midst of everything going on? And I'll reference the book, The Untethered Soul. There's a chapter called, I think it's called The Vow of Unconditional Happiness. And he starts out the chapter by saying, if I asked you, do you want to be happy? You'd say yes. And then if I asked you, well, what's preventing you from being happy? You would have a list of things preventing you from being happy. He said, but I didn't ask you if you want to be happy as long as everything in your life is perfect, because guess what? You're going to live and die without ever getting to that place. There's always, when one problem gets solved, there's another one that your mind finds or creates, right? So the idea is total freedom. How do you choose how you experience life in every moment? And the miracle morning, so the point is, it's never a prison because it's the ultimate freedom for me, right? How could it be a prison? It's the ultimate freedom. And I don't do it, I do it on average 6 days a week. And I only don't do it if there is something like a date night with my wife or something that, trumps the importance of the miracle morning. And Josh, I hate to say it, as much as I love you guys, I value my miracle morning more than hanging out one extra hour. And that's also an important piece too, is it's like, a lot of us have that mindset of like, I don't know if it's FOMO or what, but you're like, I got to stay out and enjoy this thing I'm doing as long as I possibly can. I got to extend my trip as long as I can. And my mindset is more like, hey, I'm going to go to that party, Josh, for a couple hours. And I'm gonna be present and soak it up and enjoy every moment. And then I'm gonna leave at 9:30. I'm gonna leave 2-3 hours before everybody else does, because I'm not on their schedule, I'm on mine. I'm gonna get the best of both worlds. I'm going to enjoy the time in the evening with the friends. Maybe not as long of a time, but I'm also gonna wake up and I'm gonna have that inner freedom, that miracle morning time every morning. So for me, I get the win-win, and other people are like going all in on one thing and then they're missing out on the other.
That's good stuff, man. Someone said JOMO, the joy of missing out. That's funny. I remember, honestly, man, it was super inspiring to see that kind of willpower to hold out. So cool. Dude, I'm so bummed. I just figured out there was 100-person max on here. I don't know if I just didn't pay Zoom enough money or what, but good. Luckily, this is being recorded, man.
There you go.
Let's see. We did that. What do you do every day to be motivated? How do you keep the motivation?
I think that there's multiple answers to that. The miracle morning for sure is the foundation, because it's when you start your day in a peak physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual state, you're motivated. You know what I mean? And most of us start our day in a really kind of unintentional way. Like, it's like we wait until the last minute to wake up, snooze a few times, get out the door, go straight to email. Like, how is that going to put you in a peak state? You know what I mean? And so, yeah, to me, that's it, is the miracle morning, and focusing, my affirmations during the miracle morning articulate, what's my mission for the year? What are my goals for the year? What are the actions I'm committed to? And so I'm staying present to that every morning and starting my day with focus on what I'm committed to, what matters most to me. And that allows me to show up every day as a better version of myself than when I went to bed the night before. And that to me is it, is every morning, if I were to say that the two sides of what the miracle morning does is, number one, it allows you to be conscious and intentional about the experience of life that you are choosing, right? I just said inner freedom is your ability to choose how you experience life in every moment. The miracle morning allows you to remind yourself how you're committed to experiencing life. The other side of that coin is, in doing that, it enables you to show up to every part of your day with that intention. So now you show up to your family, you're a better parent, you're a better colleague, you're a better friend, you're a better human, you're more disciplined, you're more focused. So yeah, the answer to how do I stay motivated is, I do the miracle morning just like I teach it in the book, and all of my goals and my purpose and every reason that I'm committed to doing the things that I need to be motivated to do, I'm re-energized every morning and reminded of those things.
Awesome. Lorenzo asks, when you were at your low point after your car wreck, were you surprised at any of the people that supported or didn't support you during that time? And was there anything that you became less tolerant of?
Honestly, I was only surprised about how much support I got. It was overwhelming. And when I got cancer, so my car accident was when I was 20. I was diagnosed with cancer when I was 37, and it was a very rare aggressive form of cancer. I only had a 20 to 30% chance of surviving. And the support when I had cancer was unbelievable. Like, when I announced in the Miracle Morning Community Facebook group that I had cancer, that post got 3,000 plus comments in a few days. And I was like, I was in tears over this. And John Vroman, so if you've seen the Miracle Morning movie, you've seen this scene, and if you haven't, you can watch it on Amazon. But John Vroman said the reason that so many people showed up for Hal when he had cancer is because he's been showing up for everybody for years. And I say that humbly, but I think that it was surprising, and it was affirming that, like I defined my purpose in life when I was in 2004. I read a book called Love is the Killer App by Tim Sanders, and Love is the Killer App, APP. And I defined my purpose in life to selflessly add value to the life of every person I possibly could. So for the last 16 years, I've really been focused on doing that. And it was so affirming when I had cancer to see all those people show up and support, and then to realize that, wow, when you selflessly focus on adding value to the lives of as many people as you can in every way all the time, and you just make that who you are. You don't keep score. You don't go, is this person worth my time? What can I get out of this relationship? You just go, I'm just going to be a beacon of light and love and of service to everyone. It's cool to see that you build a hell of a lot of relationship equity. And then when you do need something, even though you don't predict that you're going to need those things, right? That's not why you're serving. You're serving because it's the right thing to do. And I think it's okay to be, to know that, hey, these people will probably be there when I need something. That's cool, But yeah, that was the biggest surprise was, wow, I can't believe how many people are supporting me. And it was like, I realized it's because I've tried to always serve and help other people. And it was just a reciprocation, I think, of that.
Awesome, man. I can't remember if I have brain damage or not, because
you do, for sure.
Yeah, I can't remember if I asked you this yet, but Anthony Morell asked, how do you goal set short-term and long-term?
Yeah, no, you did not ask that yet. And great question. My podcast is called Achieve Your Goals with Hal Elrod, in case you're looking for a podcast to listen to. So this is my wheelhouse. It's I've been doing a podcast for over a decade on that. But achieve your goals in terms of, let me read the question. How do you goal set short and long term? Here's the thing. I'm very, I would say I'm probably more I'm a blend between traditional goal setting and more like woo-woo, non-specific law of attraction type stuff. If you read my most recent book, is called The Miracle Equation, where it's right there. And then the miracle equation is, it's the subtitle is the 2 decisions that move your biggest goals from possible to probable to inevitable. And the 2 decisions are unwavering faith, which is pretty woo-woo, and extraordinary effort, which at first glance sounds kind of generic, like motivational, right? But I'll break these down. This is how I goal set. So first and foremost, I ask myself, right, what is an outcome that I want in my life? What's an outcome I want in my life, no matter how big of a stretch it is? At one point, that was to make $1 million a year. And when I set that goal, I was making $50,000 a year. So talk about a stretch. That was 20 times my income. I had no idea how I would do it. But I believe that when you commit to something, the how, H-O-W, reveals itself. A mentor taught me that. It's worth writing down. When you commit to an outcome, the how reveals itself. Maybe not on day one, might take a year. But if you commit to that outcome and you just keep moving in that direction, and the initial movement might just be learning. Okay, I set a goal to make $1 million a year or $100,000 a year. I don't know how to do that. So the first thing I got to do is I got to buy some books on how to make 6 figures or how to make $1 million, right? I got to learn. And then in the midst of your education and seeking knowledge on how to create that outcome, often that's when the how reveals itself. It doesn't reveal itself when you're just sitting there because you wrote down your goal. So that's an example of blending the woo-woo, where it's like the belief that, hey, if I commit to an outcome and I stay committed to moving in that direction, I'll eventually get there. It might take me a year, might take me 5 or 10, I don't know. But if I'm constantly moving that direction, I'll eventually get there. And it starts by, and then you go, okay, well, what's the next thing I could do? I got to find someone that's done what I want to do, and I got to learn how they did it, right? And then you start on that path, and then all of a sudden you get an aha moment that leads to another, that leads to another. So the point is, I start by setting big goals. I commit to figuring out how to get there. And then I just keep every day, I schedule time, like 1 hour every day that's dedicated. It'll be like, goal time, or a lot of times it'll be mission time. Like, what's my number one goal for every year? It's called my mission. So I get really clear. I mean, again, this is relatively simple, right? But I commit to an outcome, commit to it in writing, read that commitment every day, and then ask myself, what do I need to do to move in that direction? And then I schedule time every day to move in that direction, and I'm unattached to how long it takes me to get to the outcome. So that's it.
Good stuff, man. I mean, we are right at the point where we honor your time, and you know, because I'm sure we could keep going forever. I'm gonna try something. No, I'm not. It's not gonna work. I don't think I can unmute everybody at the same time, but I would invite everyone right now to unmute quickly, give Hal a round of applause via Zoom if possible. There we go. Yeah.
Great job, man. It's awesome.
Awesome.
Guys,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hal.
Thanks, Al.
Hal, I don't know if you can see the two screens, Intero RC and Intero Down. I mean, those are gigantic offices of people watching.
I can see all y'all right on.
So,
thank you guys for being here. Josh, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I was gonna mute everybody, then unmute you. Actually, Hal, if you can hear me, it would be way easier if you just unmute yourself, so I don't have to find you.
I'm unmuting. Look who's calling me, Josh. You know that guy.
I do. I know that guy. So crazy.
Anyway, So I'll close this out, and I do want to say this. If you guys are anybody on Clubhouse, show of hands if you're on Clubhouse using the Clubhouse app. So Brianna Greenspan, who is one of the Miracle Morning co-authors, and she was my coaching client when I invented the Miracle Morning. Like when I came up with it, I was coaching her, and so she was one of the first people to ever do it. She now leads a daily Miracle Morning Clubhouse room every day at 5 a.m. Pacific time, because she's 7 a.m. Central. But it goes for like 2 hours every morning. And she sends me screenshots and messages from people. I go in there usually once a week, and I was this morning. But anyway, if you're on Clubhouse, just go check it out. Like it's a really special room, and she's amazing at facilitating it. So with that, love to you all. Thank you for allowing me to be here. And my mission in the Miracle Morning community, the collective mission, is to elevate the consciousness of humanity one morning at a time and one person at a time. And so I really do believe that what the world needs right now is it needs people that are waking the fuck up. Sorry, pardon my French, but people that are waking up every day, and we are taking ownership of ourselves, and we are deciding that as members of the human family, I believe we have a responsibility to show up every day for ourselves so that we can show up for our fellow human beings, for our family, for our community, and for humanity. Because the world right now, we're in a very divisive, chaotic spot. And we, you know, they say, I think it was Margaret Mead or someone else that said, never underestimate a small group of people who are dedicated, I'm butchering the quote, but dedicated to changing the world, because only that's who actually does it. Something like that. So my point is, don't take lightly how important your role is in the future of humanity. Every day when you wake up and you care enough about yourself and about your family and about your clients and about your community and about humanity, to improve yourself, to evolve, to grow, and to go out and bring joy and bring love to every person in your life, it matters. You matter. You are making a difference. So again, thank you. Josh, thank you for your leadership, brother. I love and appreciate all of you, and I'm sure we'll do this again sometime.